Kakadosh Boker Tov. We're continuing again. This is in Siman Shin Zayin now, a very interesting halacha, which is many times asked, especially by students. The question is, are you allowed to learn for a test on Shabbat? Now, obviously, we're not talking about a Navi test or a Chumash test, because that obviously you're allowed to learn Torah on Shabbat. There's no question. But obviously, this refers to whether it's going to be science, maths, biology, chem, all these other subjects. Are you allowed to learn for it on Shabbat? So I wanted to read to you Maran. Maran in Shulhan Aruch Siman Shin Zayin Sif Yud Zayin says, Asur lilmod b'Shabbat Yom Tov, zula b'divrei Torah. It's prohibited to learn on Shabbat Yom Tov other than divrei Torah. V'afilu b'sifrei chochmot. And even if it's going to be in books of wisdom, it's going to be asur. Then Maran brings down v'yesh shematir, right? And it says here some people permit. V'al pi svarato mutar labi b'tzolov b'Shabbat, right? And according to this svara, you're allowed to look in a telescope on Shabbat, and there's no problem. Now, here we have a stam v'yesh. What do you mean stam v'yesh? Maran says in the stam, right, he was a tam like the Rambam, which means it's prohibited. In the yesh, he brings down a shita of the Rashba, that it is permitted. Stam v'yesh halacha, kistam, which means that it's going to be prohibited. However, though here the Mishnah Berurah says, on the words v'yesh mishmatir, v'chen noagim la'akel, the minhag is to be mekel, so you could have that Ashkenazim are more lenient, but then he says, "V'katav el yarabah tiyiresh shamayim ro ilachmir bazeh." However, though he says that the yarabah brings down the yiresh shamayim should be machmir, which means even if you're going to tell me that according to there was a minhag in Ashkenaz to be mekel, there is a concept of yiresh shamayim, right? That they're not going to do that. Yeah. So he comes and he says now, right, like this. He comes and he says, what happens in such a case, right, where it's going to be where we think. Right, that it's, what does that mean? We think that from now it comes out, Ashkenazim is mutar, even though it's Yiresh Shamayim. Comes Rav Ovadia Yosef and he says something very interesting. Rav Ovadia Yosef brings down in Siman Shin Chet, there Maran says that there's no problem of mukse to do with the Yitzrolob, to do with the telescope. And therefore, says Rav Ovadia, the fact that Maran in Siman Shin Chet, which is Hilchot Mukse, says there's no problem of mukse to do with the telescope, so therefore it comes out that basically it's permitted, right? And therefore he says that somebody that's going to learn, whether it's going to be sciences, maths, or whatever on Shabbat, there's no problem. He's got what to rely on. That's what says Rav Ovadia. Why? We're not going to leave the for sure of the Rashba for the safek of the Rambam. What does that mean? He comes and he says that his kilu maran is mistapek. What is shitat Rambam? Now on this, you should know the majority of all the Acharonim, they argue on Rav Ovadia Yosef, right? Obviously, we're in the Sfaradim. Why in the Sfaradim? Because according to Ashkenazim, the Mishnah Berurah already told you the minhag was to be machmir, but then he brings down Yiresh Shamayim was to be machmir, but the minhag was to be mekel. So he comes first is the Ish Matzliach. The Ish Matzliach comes and he says, I don't understand. He says why? The Rambam is mefurash in Pirusha Mishnayot that it's a sur as well. Which means that for sure it's a sur. There's no doubt in the Rambam. It's not like I have a doubt in the Rambam. And therefore, Marvadai Maran also holds that way, just like he said in Stam and Shulchan Aruch. What's going to happen in Siman Shinchet Ilchom Muktzeh? You're right. To do the Ilchom Muktzeh many times, as long as it has some purpose whatsoever, we're going to be lenient. Even if you could come and you could cover a bottle, or you could do something with it, we become lenient in those cases. So you're not going to come and tell me that I'm going to look in Ilchom Muktzeh whether I'm allowed to learn, right, Sifrei Chochmot, because the concept of V'daber Davar, which is Siman Shin Zayin. So therefore, I have to go to the Siman which speaks about that topic. I cannot bring a proof from another Siman, right, that's not talking about that, that's talking about in general, to do with Ilchot Muktzeh. Is there a problem? So that's the Ish Matzliach. The next one also is the Maaseh HaShabbat. We know the Maaseh HaShabbat is the grandson of Rav Ovadia Yosef, Rav Elia Rafael HaKohen, and he also says, he comes and he says about his grandfather, he says, L'umat zot reiti b'chazon Ovadia ve'lo zachiti le'avin. He says, I'm not zochet to understand. At the end of the day, it's 100% against Maran. Another one is, that this one preceded both of them, is Rav Ben Zion Abba Shaul. The Rav Ben Zion, the Or Lezion, in Chelek Be, Perek Kaf Heit, Teshuvah Vav, Mefurash, he says, Shitat Maran is that it's a sur, it's a zur. Which means like this, it comes out that even though Rav Ovadia Yosef is mekel, like the Ashkenazim, right? What happens is that he's going here like the Ashkenazim. We know that we have Shitat Maran, which is Shitat Rambam, right? Which is that it's a sur. right? And therefore, it's a sur to learn b'sifrei chokhmot on Shabbat. So whether it's going to be sciences, maths, or other things, it's going to be a sur. And the only thing that we have is that, again, you have whether it's going to be Shitat Maran of Ben Sion Abba Shaul, the Ishmatzliach, and Maaseh Shabbat, they're all coming in the same psak halacha. If right now, right, the person is, right, they have the Ashkenazim, fine, but even in the Ashkenazim, you have the Yireh Shamayim is going to be Mekel, which means somebody that is a God-fearing person, right, they are Machmir. Whenever we talk about God-fearing people, many times we say, no, we're all God-fearing, right? Usually people will come and say, no, I have Yirat Shamayim. So he says, if you have Yirat Shamayim, so therefore obviously it means that you're going to refrain from such a thing. There does exist such halacha for the Ashkenazim that if it's going to be mamash for refuah that you need for Shabbat, right, so then it could be that it's going to be permitted. If you need something of refuah on Shabbat, you're going to open up, right, in order to look in something that you need now for refuah on Shabbat. Again, obviously within the halachot of what is permitted refuah on Shabbat or not. So then it would be permitted in order to learn, to know what you're doing. But other than that, we have the satam of Shulhan Aruch, which is going to be prohibited for learning for tests.